agent is in a lot of ways even more powerful in the typical environments that you guys use, right? So from VS Code to anti-gravity to cursor, the Jac coder, it's one word, should be in the marketplace. Has anyone tried to find Jac coder and has it been able to find it yet? In the extension marketplace?
Yes.
Awesome, good. So it's there, just install it. Now, so I think, so your journey, so once you have this, it should be in your experience a lot like Claude Code or Gemini or Copilot or Codex, like your VS Code kind of environment. So it should live there and function much in the same way. You can see your folder, you can see your directory, you can see code. It's essentially the same experience that you would see in Jac Builder. You can also get in your local machine with Jac Coder, and then it can call the various programs and tools you want. You can also configure your own keys. I know there's a lot of keys going out. So I'll just write install in your IDE, and it should be relatively self-explanatory and function like any coding assistant you might have used before. You know, so it functions like Codex, et cetera, right? etc. And you can add keys. Now, one of the most important unlocks that I didn't talk about this morning was the MCP server, right? So there's an MCP server. Does everybody know what an MCP server is? Show of hands. Okay, good. Yeah, so basically this is it's essentially a little server that talks to AI to help AI know stuff. And so there's a Jac MCP server, and that essentially lets you choose your own agentic approach. So choose your own coding agent, right? Choose your own coding agent. Okay. So this is basically when you run that install script. So if let's just go here. So basically when you run this install script, this is like the easiest way to install Jac. Is just run that. It actually uses UV to install into your environment, your coding environment, the Jac binary, and then just run Jac, and that works. You can actually just run something by then running these two commands, and this is on the main website. So if you just run these 3-4 commands or whatever, you should actually have Jac set up and running a full stack app in your environment. So this is a good way to test your local environment that you might know, but you've got to install this bad boy. If you don't install it, another way that works is you can point it to a code base, but then you're going to just churn through tokens for it to learn the language while coding. So this is going to save you tokens at the end of the day, and then you're going to have a very rapid agent that can run. So definitely do that. Choose your own coding agent. Coder comes with the MCP server, so this should just be relatively built in. But this could be like your sequence of tools, right? So, this plus this. When I use the MCP server, I do it with Claude Code. So that's actually another good technique. Now, so all of these is really to have different levels of, let's call it ease, when it comes to getting some code written, right? You just do it in browser, see some stuff happening in browser. Okay, it's cool. I don't have to configure anything. My mom can do it. And then, if you have an IDE, you can then just use Jac Coder, and it's the same agent that's in Jac Builder. And you can add your own keys. You can choose your own model. If you want to do Opus, we kind of have a situation. I probably shouldn't talk about this too much. We have a situation where Jac Builder kind of comes with 5.4 Codex, OpenAI. We're probably not going to turn it off, so until like tomorrow. So I don't know. We're just too lazy to turn it off. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, so this is kind of like table stakes, right? So you have to have at least this installed if you want to have a good experience. MCP server with your favorite coder. So that's pretty much how to get yourself running. And the next thing, any questions on that? Any curiosities? Anything? Someone's tried something, it didn't work right. Go ahead.
Is it normal for builders to take a really long time? Like I tried something during your first talk and it's so good.
Yeah. Okay. So how many does it tell you the number of iterations? Is that the coding agent or is it just loading up a sandbox?
Like I give it a prompt in the browser.
Yeah.
And it just says building.
Okay. Yeah. So that's not normal. Is anyone else having that issue that is just stuck on building for super duper long times? Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, so there's the Discord channel. We have a channel for this. What's a good channel for issues with Builder? We should have Builder issues channel.
I think they need to join. To be honest, it's best if they join the Jac Workshop Discord channel.
Okay.
Then they could go to issues.
Okay, I'll send a link to that.
On the Jac
That's
website community, you could actually find the Discord channel for the Jac Workshop. So that's our regular dev option channel for issues.
Yeah, so this is a couple, so let me answer, all right, so there's a lot of information that just happened. Let me go through it. So the thing, first is, Builder hasn't been tested at this scale simultaneously until now. So if there are some issues, totally fine. We actually have a team of like 6 people who won't be sleeping that is the development team SRE Builder right now. And they're just chomping at the bits to hear something that they can fix. They're super excited to make sure everything runs smoothly. So you do share things like something stuck on our sandbox that needs to be rebooted or something like that. Because all of these are environments in the cloud right now that's running. And actually the team is primarily made of undergrads, and like super undergrads, which is amazing. But I think they're kind of like fertile. It's amazing. We are the future. Okay, so let us know. Now, how do you let us know? So there's going to be a link to our main Jaseci Discord server, right? And so that's going to come in the Discord, in the JacHacks Discord.
It's already in the announcement, actually. Oh,
In the announcement.
I found the wrong.
Okay. Maybe we'll come to the Discord.
No, it's correct.
So, okay, there's a link in the Discord announcements in JacHacks Discord announcements channel. There's a link to Jaseci World and help. There's help. Ask questions about any kind of outages or anything like that. Just go there when you have anything issue here. Everything we try for this particular case is just create a new product. I think you guys can create multiple products. Just create a new product, see if it happens again. Just let us know. But certainly share everything that you run into there as it relates to Builder. These shouldn't have any uptime problems. Like I wouldn't expect these to have any problems with functionality, as long as this has a key, and so you're gonna have to put your own key here or use the keys we give it. So I think there's code keys, right? I think there's keys.
Are you asking me?
Yeah. How are we distributing keys to everybody?
I think the cloud code key didn't really work out because I don't think it's actually their approval process apparently too long. So they're in delay so they don't have a key. I think you could actually have keys they could put it. Otherwise we're using our own tokens, I guess. Or
I guess
to open router for free tokens.
Alright, we're gonna have to hook people up with keys. So if you got a key, use it. If you really need a key, please give me a key channel. I don't know, figure it out, okay? How many people have keys? Crap. I think that you need keys. Yeah. You need keys. Alright, we're just gonna have to hook everybody up with like $150 of keys or something each. Is that too much? We'll hook you up. We'll figure it out. So there's gonna be an announcement soon on our key plan.
150 each would be a lot because it's 150 people here. But
Alright, so we're gonna figure out keys soon.
50 per group.
So it's BYOB, and we'll have a key program. BYOK, bring your own key, and then there'll be a key program for the needy key program. I was a student before, but a free slice of pizza was like jackpot. So I feel you. We'll get some keys to you guys. Some about key goodness. Okay. Key program is going to be on Discord. Will be on Discord. So watch announcements for this announcements. Okay. So will be on Discord. And then this one is also BYOK. Same. All right. Cool. I'll tell you something. I have a general rule that I use with all the folks I collaborate with. Is if we give you a key and it's say $25, and you want a bigger key, come and show me what you built, or show off what you built. If it's cool, you can earn more keys. I'll be like, that's amazing. Have more keys. You know? So there's a merit-based generosity that happens there. Just FYI. Okay. So that was on keys and builder issues. If there's issues here, we are so provisioned up. We have like 150 concurrent sandboxes running like the day before yesterday testing. So it should be good, hopefully. Okay, so as you try these things and as issues come, this is going to be a place to put issues, and we have round-the-clock support, which is amazing. Any other questions before I move on to another topic? All right. Happy coding, guys. So the next topic I'm going to go to is, okay, there's two ways you can imagine wrapping your hand around, wrapping your hand around. Oh, let me show you this first. Let me make a little note to myself here. Okay, that's what's for me. So as you wrap your mind around the language, get familiar with the code, of course there's the standard approach, which is leverage an agent to build something using these tools, and then you can read what the agent's doing, get a sense as to what the code looks and feels like. If you've coded in most languages, any language, if you coded before, you should be able to very quickly grok the syntax. And it's a very Python-like language, right? So it's very Python-inspired syntax. So that's good. And then, so that's one pathway. There's another pathway. If you're more of a tutorial type, there's a tutorial. Let's go here. Of course, this is a good way to get just tinkering in some doc. So there's a tutorial. This is the docs, right? So let me orient you to the docs. This is an FTP server, how to get it set up. You usually can just ask your Claude to set it up for itself, and it'll do it. So you can look at this server setup, and it's got cursor, and code, Copilot, Windsurf, whatever you like to use if you're just doing the MCP server. But there's a guy called Build an AI Day Planner with Jac. Now, it's a long tutorial, but it teaches you pretty much everything about the syntax. And so this particular guide, if you want to look at syntax and reason about it, you can use this guide to kind of understand some of what is going on in the language. Now, if you see something like that you're curious about, and I'll share a separate link for this, there's something called JacGPT, which is, this is a RAG agentic system that will teach you about Jac. You can ask questions and so forth. There's something I didn't mention earlier today. Jac Builder is written 100% in Jac. So the platform itself, spooling up all those sandboxes, all the visual things, the GitHub integration, all of it is 100% Jac code. There's not a line of JavaScript, Python, any other language in that full application. So it's a big one, right? This application as well is 100% written in pure Jac. Front end, back end, full stack, the whole thing. So, and this one's open source. And so can give that repo. Let me put a note to myself. Share some repos so you guys can just have it as context. Some cool repos for Jac. Now this thing, you can actually, let's do this. So there's RAG, MCP, and both. Both is actually a debug thing. It's kind of weird because it's stack, so we should probably put it side by side. But you can actually say something like, can you explain this code to me? And you could do this in Coder too, right? And then it's actually an agentic reasoning system that's going to actually look at your code. We're going to see the bills after this. The bills are out of control, I think. But so anyway, so this will do some reasoning. It's running in the cloud, so it's actually a pretty nice little agentic system. But when it feels confident, okay, it's going. It's still thinking. Let's think about these agents. Hopefully, this isn't using Opus. It's expensive. All right, so all that runs, it's 10 steps in. So this is actually a tool that's available. We'll have a link to it. Oh, okay. So here's what it says. So it's like, oh, there's object keyword. This is a class, right? This is just a class with 2 fields. There's a list type. It's like teaching you stuff. And so this is a useful tool that can teach you on demand as you work on code, and then you just cut and paste anything you see that you want to kind of get a better description of. One thing we learned early on is I don't think anyone on the planet reads docs anymore. You know what I mean? I don't blame you. That includes me. I can't remember the last time I read documentation. I just use an agent or a GPT. So I appreciate that. But some folks do enjoy the doc journey. And so this is a good, long guide that you build this AI, agentic, beautiful meal planner. It has like some, what is it? Where's the dialogue piece? 5. Making it smart with AI. That sounds like a good idea. Let's just get the full example. I'm trying to find that. Isn't there like one clip of the full example? So this is kind of nice, right? So, and I can just quickly give you like a first glance at some of the syntax. So, object is a class. We reserve the class keyword. Class keyword works exactly like Python classes. So you can essentially have the same self dot, init, all that stuff in class. But if you want to use, a little bit cleaner, more structured classes, there's obj. And what this is really showing is category. This is using that by keyword to minimize the prompt engineering needed to fill in like these kinds of structures, enumerations. These are also classes, and et cetera, et cetera. These are functions, et cetera. So those are tools at your disposal. So I'll just add it here for this tutorial guide link here, and then JacGPT. So JacGPT is supposed to be the expert on Jac. You can ask any question to it. So those are resources, but most folks, I think what I've seen a lot of success with is you just start building stuff and reading the code and understanding it as you go, and then using JacGPT to get explanations. That's the critical path of massive progress on your products. And I think, yeah. Anything else? Any questions? Anyone working with something right now and has a question about something they're seeing or doing? the Jac Builder repo is not repos. We're gonna figure out what gets open and what doesn't. I think that is a conversation happening. But the entire language ecosystem is completely open source. And let's see, GitHub.
Yeah, the language stack is open source. And if you hadn't started this repo, you would.
Oh yeah. She's like, she loves stars. If you want to make her day,
No. Let me make it very clear. We're funded by the National Science Foundation. So look at the stars and see our impact. So this thing is funded by that. So please come back. So you have the pizza and the food and everything.
That's true. I should have talked a little bit about the National Science Foundation funding this.
Yeah.
Maybe I will in a minute. Go ahead.
Well, this is repo for the language itself.
Yes.
So how is the language written itself as a language?
That is, by the way, one thing that you'll find with Tang, she's a professor at Michigan as well as myself. We are compiler nerds, right? So there's this thing called a self-hosted compiler or a bootstrap compiler, and that is the language is written in itself. And the way you do that is you bootstrap the language. So you use a subset of the language. So you'll have like a little core that's another language. And then that will be just enough to get a subset of the language that you use to implement more of the language. And then you're bootstrapping the language for its full implementation. And the beauty of that is dog fooding, right? So that you can actually, you see, this is something Python didn't do. By the way, I could do a whole sidebar on languages and stuff. Oh, there's so much to talk about. But most languages did this. Zig, you'll find, also did this. Nim did it brilliantly. So Nim is a beautiful implementation of a language. But yes, Jac is 96% written in Jac. And then there's 2.5% Python. And then whatever. Thank you for the questions. This is the kind of stuff that gets compiler people a little excited. So good question. All right, so I think people just want to get hacking, but let me talk about just a couple more topics. So I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this on the GitHub. On the Discord. So everyone has these notes, and then we're going to fill in links, and maybe we're going to make this a living document. So we might add more information here as questions come in from everyone. We're going to do that. But I almost feel like I have to talk a little bit about the wonderful that's allowing us to do this work. So let me bring up a slide deck real quick, so I can just kind of tell you guys like.
There are tokens. I don't think that's only the tokens. The tokens are
So a lot of information just dumped out on your wall, right? And there's all these tools, all these documentations, resources. This is by design, right? So we didn't design a very prescribed journey because that's not how coding works anymore, right? So there's all these tools. You can kind of choose your own adventure, right? There's a couple of journeys that probably have high likelihood of success. For example, start on Jac Builder, get it as far as you could, and put it down into VS Code, use Jac Builder or your own coding agent to make as much progress as you want, right? And definitely leverage JacGPT, right? I think it's a godsend for you, like something you just touch without having to bump anybody. And last is working questions about like, oh, I have this idea. Is that possible? Is that feasible? There might be a new language, new ecosystem, so you might be wondering what's capable or not, right? The thing to remember when you're scoping an idea is this is a superset of Python and JavaScript. So if your idea you think can be built in Python or JavaScript, both, it's possible.
Yeah. So you can import everything that I would love to talk about it. Maybe it's anyone's who's curious why that works. Talk about it. But I'm a little off topic. Okay. So this project, this Jaseci project, is funded. there's kind of like two funding sources that funds everything. National Science Foundation is really excited about the project. There's a very competitive grant. It's called the POSE grant. It's the open source ecosystem. Pathways to open source ecosystem. And only about 2% of the projects will be granted. And so we have the first phase of that grant. And the stars matter and all of the enthusiasm you guys have, like making that like public, matters because the NSF is watching. And if that goes well, they're going to give us phase 2, which is 5 times a bigger grant. And so we can do 5 times as much work. And so that's, I mean, we're really proud to be kind of like celebrating that really helps go. The other funding sources, we're incubating this thing, right? So we help some companies build open source, not open source, they're AI teams. And so we do a little bit of consulting, and that also funds, all the folks that are developing and building and maintaining the server. So we actually do have openings. So if anyone is in love with Jac, by the end of this hackathon, let us know. Your enthusiasm is really valued, and we need all the help we can get. We're always looking for good people, even if it's remote, Summer interns, we're looking for interns. We have a really fun team. It's like kind of crazy, like energy.
That put us together.
Yeah, the team online, it's like you're seeing the tweets, right? Like, or the posts, is the team you've been working with. Awesome. So I just want to say those 2 things. Any final questions, thoughts, comments? Yeah. Absolutely. So let's talk about one of the, okay, that's good. So now we're going to go technical, right? So there's one concept to understand about Jac that I think is usually the biggest and attractive for people. So most of the time, folks are like, okay, well, how do I manage my user auth system? How do I get my database set up, the schema, how do I organize my database? Like, how do you set up a database? And then I tell folks, oh, you don't have to worry about anything. And they're like that's like the main thing. That's where I start. So let's talk a little bit about how that works. So I'm going to show a piece of code from the tutorial. And I'll just talk you through a part of the tutorial. The tutorial is a part of the tutorial that helps you model. Now, the first thing I'm going to say, this is kind of like lecture mode, moving into lecture mode, is everyone is very familiar with the abstractions that came as languages evolved, right? So you had like assembly, right? Where there weren't any types, you just had bits and words. You're moving bytes to memory and back, there's no types, right? And then we had C, and C had structs and functions. So all of a sudden now we have types, we have a struct with fields, you're familiar. I'm going to assume you guys know some of this stuff so I don't turn this into a 2-hour lecture. But you can Google and everything I'm saying, and it'll be helpful. And then we have methods. Right? So methods are just, they're in memory, they're instances of a struct you can think with functions that can self-referentially talk to the fields through a this or a self-reference. So the self-referential variable that your methods can use, and then inheritance and all that stuff. But we had object-oriented design. A car is a vehicle, but a truck is also a vehicle, so the share properties, all that stuff. You got that abstraction. And Jac also introduces graphs. So here, your objects are just floating in space. Jac supports all of this, right? So you can actually write your entire application with this if you want to code your own database. I strongly advise against it because it's this beautiful feature that makes it really easy. But so you have all of that. But in graphs, you can actually have the same objects, so the same classes, the same instances, but they get to be connected to each other, right? You get to express the connection between objects. So this is one of the new concepts in the language. So what that means is we have a set of new operators for taking objects and connecting them together, right? So that they're graph. So this is usually where the syntax is like really fresh and different. So you'll see syntax like this. So you'll have like object 1, you know, connected to object 2. Right? So you'll have stuff like that, and this means this object's connected to that object. Super simple. And then you'll have, maybe you'll connect 2 things. So you'll connect that one. You'll also say object. The same object is connected to another connection. Objects are connected. And then, oh, I want all of the objects. I want the list of objects connected to this object. You might be able to do return a list where it's object. So it's a list of everything connected to the object. So at this stage, you know half of the new stuff, right? That concept that objects can be connected to each other, and that can intermingle with the objects you know, right? So actually, that's what you see on this slide here. So I've shown you've seen the obj keyword. There's also a class keyword, but obj is like class, but it's a little bit more like a typical class that you might see in most languages. I mean, Python classes are weird because you're like monkey patching all your fields in. That's not normal. So this is more like a normal class that other languages have. But then we also have nodes and edges. That's it. And these are also classes. Right? So when you have that node task, that's not a class task. And it's 2 fields, title and done or not. Right? And then you have this root. We're going to talk about that next because you actually know most of this stuff already. And then you can connect objects, instances to root. And then you can print 3 tasks created. That's pretty much, now we're at like 75% of the new stuff. So if you've been following, awesome. If you haven't, cut and paste this into JacGPT and have a conversation. Now, so what is root? What is this magical root? Right? What is root, dude? Root is an ambient function. So it's a lot like, you know how you have print, and then you have length, len, give me another one, abs. Well, in this language, you also have root. And what root returns is your user's persistent graph, right? So whenever you run a program, whenever a query hits an endpoint, there's a notion of the user. So we have this root, but kind of like a this pointer or a self, but it's self-referential to the user. And anything connected to that graph, connected to the root, is saved. That's it. That's how you do your database and multi-user. So you can have a very simple program, a super simple program, like the GitHub has like a super. Oh, I have a slide. It has that. It's a slide that John thinks is like really messed up. No, I'm not going to show that slide because you're not a fan of the slide. Right. So let me just show the GitHub repo. So there's this like wonky. I'm like, oh look, in one file.
Jack in one file.
Jack in one file. In one file, you know, you've got a full stack application, all this stuff. this, but I'll use this code for now. But this is like it's like a lot. So this is good. I think this is good. Okay. So based on the topics I talked about, I'm just going to talk through this line, this example. So we have a class called to do. It looks a lot like the previous one, and then we have an enumeration of categories, and then we have this magical BILLM thing where it can get the category of your to do. And then we have forget to dos if there isn't a list of to dos, right? Because remember, this is a list. You can also use it as syntax. It's a lot like, I mean, you guys might be familiar with like A, and then you've got like 1:6, right? So this is like Python syntax. So this is kind of a graph-based syntax for giving all the items connected to my object, root in this case, and then all the ones that are to do. And so if there's none of them, we're going to create two. So we're going to create two tasks on root. This is awesome. We're going to create two tasks on root. So this has been deprecated, so that's a function of. And then we can return a dictionary of notes, right? You can return of the notes, and then return it to your function app. So app okay? How are we doing with this? How easy is it?
So is the graph structure in the program actual class objects, or is that of instances of the class objects? Is that runtime or compiled?
Great question. They're the instances of the objects.
Okay.
And actually, remember during my demo, I showed this like graph viewer. So that's actually any endpoint. When you do Jac start, and I know this is a fire hose of information, so I'm very sympathetic, but remember, so you do Jac start of any application. You guys haven't done this yet, so you will though. And then you're gonna get localhost 8000, right? So this is familiar to some people, right? Whenever you run a server, you'll have this endpoint called graph. And then you'll visually get to see what's on your root. And you can play with it. So when you're building this stuff on your root, when you start your application, you can check it out and see what it looks like. Let me see if there's an interesting one I can show now. I didn't say Jac Builder was, so I didn't plan this, so if this blows up, don't worry, it's listed dev because I just used it. Hopefully it didn't bring it down. So I should be able to just say graph here. Look at that. So this is actually Jac Builder graph. They're objects. Like I mentioned, Jac Builder is 100% written in Jac. Well, anything you run, you can just go to the /graph, and then look, there's this information here. And this is a viewer, and then of course when it's only if you're authenticated in can you see stuff. If I log out, like I just hit log out, I'm moving really fast, I get it. Because you saw, because I'm trying to predict what some reactions. So some people were like, oh my gosh, but anybody can go see your graph and they see your whole database and see all the private stuff. That's what I'm mentioning is when you log out, you get to see the public graph, right? So this is public data. And then when you log in, I don't know what my login is because of this one. Oh no, this is. No, that was in the app built by Jac Builder. This is actually Jac Builder. Yeah. So this is actually Jac Builder. This is a two-factor auth into with GitHub. So I don't know what the. No, I can't log in. I'd have to go. Actually, let's try this. I would have to go back to the main app, and then I have to log in again. Continue with GitHub. Now I'm in again. So now if I go to Graph and I'm logged in, authenticated, now I can see. Now I can see all that data from before. So you can actually visually see your graph. And actually in the admin dashboard, you can actually interact with the MongoDB graph if you want. So like we give you the access to utilize that knowledge, but you don't even have to understand any of that. You can have an application running, right? So, let me try to bring up it here real quick, because I actually want to show a better version than that example on GitHub, because I actually haven't updated that GitHub. I mean, the GitHub README, I haven't updated in a while. So let me show you the latest mini to do. I haven't done. So this is actually, okay, so this is my environment. So I've got the VS Code extension running. There's some typer error here. This is an old branch. So this is actually a more recent version of the same to-do, right? And so we can run this. Let me try it. Let me try to run this. Although I'm on the branch. Git status, full tech client guides. That seems like a fine branch. So if I go to examples, source, examples, mini to do. I'm nervous, guys. I'm doing some live stuff. Everything can break. It should break. Jac start. Mini.jac. See what happens. Oh, let's source my .fiv. Where's my .fiv? Where is it? Fans been activate. Okay, now Jac start. So this should just run.
Jason code just like the rest of us.
I code like everyone else. Okay, so it's doing some stuff. It's building a bundle. There we go. All right, so we have this up and running. And so if I click this, you're going to see the world's most simple app. So this is actually that app. And actually, all of the stuff I showed should work. So let me first make sure I can add stuff. Okay, don't know why I just did that, but stuff just get added. All right, we'll build it. And then dots. Oh, did it die on the back end? Yeah. Oh, this one has AI. That's what broke. So on the back end, you see here, it says, so when I added the thing, it tried to call AI on it, right? It's trying to categorize it with the keyword. So it says missing anthropic API key. So I put the API key in. Should I just do that here? I can just do it here. You guys want that? Yeah. Yeah, let's go. All right. So I should unplug a little bit. Let me do this. Let me share my. Oh, that's why you guys. Well, I see. Almost got me. Yeah.
While he's doing that, a couple of things I want to add, right? So, you saw the graph, right? And you saw the code that he was running. Some of you might be wondering, where are the data existence happening? Right? Where's the database piece? How is it being mapped to the database? The code that Jason showed, that one file that runs full stack application, that's not a fluff. That's actually all you need to run the full stack. So what's happening is any nodes or edges that are connected as part of your graph, remember the root keyword, anything that's connected to the root, indirectly or directly, are automatically mapped to a SQL database. So if you, as you're building your app, if you want something to be persistent for your user, make sure it's connected to the root through direct or indirect, and then that will get persistent automatically. And when you're running Jac Start on your laptop, it just has a SQLite that's running locally. But eventually, when you deploy, as Jason mentioned, it will spun up like a proper SQL instance and all of that.
So is the underlying data structure kind of like iObjects where everything's a dictionary? Is that how it works? And do you sort of objects in the like the objects in existence?
Yeah. So we don't serialize the code, the classes. We do serialize the instances, and so that's a serialization function. There's a couple of implementations. Of course, you could pickle it if you wanted, but of course that's a bad idea for many, many reasons. And then you can also serialize it. This is compiler determined, and it's you can do you can use protobufs. There's a number of ways you can serialize. You can have a REST representation base 64 serialization. The data is what's saved, and then your program, when it runs, it'll saturate your objects, right? So what that means is the schema, you can think of it of your class, the type itself is in the program. So
can you, I was dynamically change properties of that?
There are ideas of how you can automatically migrate, but that'll essentially be a database migration. So you change properties of it up to a point. So, okay, to his question. So if I have a task and it has done and then title, but then I just delete title, you're gonna have to refresh your database because now your database that has title saved, it wouldn't be able to saturate that into the object in a reliable way. So when you change your object's fields, the nature of your struct, that serialized data, you'd have to essentially refresh your database or migrate it, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. This is okay. So I'm coming from like more like just Python programming.
Yes. Yeah. So basically what happens is there's an instance that's created. So when you're running the program and it loads from the DB, there's an instance of that object, and then the values of the fields will be pulled from the database.
Okay.
And filled it on next run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is very like database relying on the back end.
Yeah, and this is actually a plugin. It's defined in a plugin interface, right? So we have whenever people see our Jaseci like ecosystem, they'll see all these plugins. So there's JacHacks, and then there's all these plugins. So the plugins define like what the database is, what's the policy as to how it's serialized, deserialized. All of that actually is a part of the implementation of the plugin.
That's interesting.
Yeah. We can talk more. I feel like I kind of missed maybe the perspective of the question.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I'm just trying to understand, like, just kind of knowing Python for how that works, if that is like adaptation of that.
Yes. So it is Python bytecode that's running, right? So it's actual pure Python that's running on the server side.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll chat more.
I'm not an investor, but I was wondering what Python does, how it gets happening.
Yeah, so that's the so we actually have a workshop after this, specifically for that. John is leading that. But just to kind of high level talk about it. So basically, using the byte keyword is how you integrate LLM into your application. So I guess we don't have the code, but
Yeah, I'll bring it back. Oh, it's working. It's all good now. I put the key in, and so
yeah. So you see, there's so it's a step categorized. Title is the parameter. Output type is category, and file. Right? So what's happening is by adding the keyword LLM, you're essentially telling the language, oh, for this function, you see there's no implementation, right? The function signature. For this function, I want to use AI for this function. And what's happening is the runtime is, or the compiler rather, is looking at the function name, the type of your parameter, the type of the output you're expecting, and it's automatically generating the prompt for the model. So when you call this function, just like how you would with any normal function call, it will actually call the model. Call the LLM to do the task instead of the implementation.
Does it look at the structure of your output and the structure of your input, or does it look at the actual variable names and the context of the code as well?
All of the above. So the output of the model, so to call the function, the output would then map to that category type automatically.
we can put these separate.
So hold that thought, because we do have a workshop specifically for that, where we'll be able to go into a lot deeper. Okay.
Yeah, and so here's the code side by side. Oh, so I put the key in, so it's actually doing the categorized thing that he's talking about. So if I say something that's work related, give me something work related.
Fix a bug.
Fixing a bug. So fixing a bug, it identifies that at work, and that's over here. So these are the categories that the BiLLM is aware of. And through this call, it's actually affixing the category. And so the print of the category is here. So if anyone's familiar with, say, JSX, they'll recognize this as a paragraph, and then it's just title plus parentheses category. And then this category is coming as from this enumeration. And so I could be like, riding a roller coaster. And so the cool thing is this is an AI feature, personal. Was there any fun? Yeah. Okay, buying a MacBook. So this is actually what Anthropic figures out the categories to be. And that's the code on the right. You just have to use one by keyword. And so it recognizes the types. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you figure out the amount of token spent by it?
Yes. So there's a wonderful dashboard. So there's a wonderful dashboard in admin. And there's some password that is the default that it says change it now. I think it comes up in here, like change the password. I don't want you to see my key.
Change me.
Let's see.
Change me.
I just want to see if this works. What is it? Do you know?
Change me.
Go ahead.
Change me.
Change me?
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, but that is it's very strange. It's just all you got to do is. Anyway, so you can see that. Is it change me on Builder too?
I don't think so.
I'm just live trying to remember all the stuff I can. So in Jac Builder, there's this admin endpoint, and so these endpoints will be available for you guys. And I think there's a default password.
What's the username and password?
Default password is change me.
Change me. So there's this dashboard, and yes, you can see all of the token spends. You can see the costs. You can see basically all of Light LLMs. So it uses Light LLMs under the hood, and Light LLM has a lot of rich information as to what the stats are of your model research, and so you can access all that data. Question?
Sorry, I know we're going through a ton of questions.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the graph piece for a second.
Okay.
So conceptually for me, right, prior to this, C++ or whatnot, you can have object within objects that kind of creates a hierarchy structure.
Yep.
Right? You can
Yep.
compare stuff with operators.
Yep.
So the difference here is what, that it's not a hierarchy and you can connect across? Is that kind of the concept, or am I missing?
Precisely right. Of course, you can do that as well. So all of the things you can do with a class,
Yeah.
you can do with nodes and edges. So you can have, a node can have a field that is of type other node, and so you can do all of that. And additionally, you can express the topology of your objects. So that's the piece you can't do in any other language. It's like really express the topology and then access that topology.
I don't know if this is a stupid question, but what's the benefit of doing that? Like, what's
Does
the
it come?
implementation?
Yes, that's good. I'll talk about two very good use cases. So whenever you think of an agentic workflow, and when you really think about an agentic architecture, there's different phases that you have to go through that you might want to connect together. So I'm going to go from planning to working hard to reviewing my code, then go back to planning if that doesn't go well. And being able to express a topology of those states is one very nice, elegant use case of it. And another great use case, and this is actually, it's in a paper that I wrote, never published. It's on archive. If you express your data off of root like this, that topology gives you information. It gives you information that a runtime system can use to decide the schema of your graph, of your database. And so the information that you get here helps compilers and runtimes. This is very sciencey stuff, but it helps the compiler and runtime have more information that it can use to do new classes of optimizations. Like, what if your runtime wants to change your schema dynamically because it finds an optimization opportunity, right? Because now we statically decide my schema is going to look like this forever, and then it's like let's optimize it. Like get the database team in. Database team runs a bunch of experiments, then they shut the whole app down, Now I'll put a new schema in, micro, everything, all that work, right? But now you can actually change the schemas on the fly based upon the workload and the topology of the graph. And so that's another really nice use case. And a side benefit is it's very easy to articulate your data structure, right? So there's a couple benefits, but let me say it like this. It would be silly to use inheritance everywhere. Everybody knows this. Inheritance is a sharp tool, but it's useful when it's useful. It's also the same for OSP. One of the big mistakes I've seen a lot of people make is they get very excited about nodes, edges, OSP, and topology, and they'll try to put it everywhere. And so you use it when it really makes sense. Whenever it's easier to understand your code with it, that's where you use it, and nowhere else, right? Just use the objects and the functions, like that we know and love and enjoy. Did you want to show something?
No, I didn't. So I was showing the LLM monitoring.
Oh, okay. While I was talking?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you should show it to everybody. Because some people were listening to me, and then some people were like,
Well, we have to change your password.
oh, did you change the password? Sorry, good.
Does this by operator, does this work with decorators? So like if I feed a function in its parameter and I'm expecting a function as the output, is that like it's not just data objects, it's actually like executable code and can work with that?
In principle, we've not really played with it. The way it's built, the LLM will try to saturate the schema of the objects, like the representation of the objects. That would be interesting to try it when you know what happens.
Yeah, I was actually like thinking like if you have like pre-compile time, it's almost like a way to get around prompting because you can literally just write like functions, the output functions, and then have it like pre-compile time.
I love that.
Like prompting.
That is wild. All right, I want to try it because that's a new kind of idea. So that's really crazy. So you call it compilation implementation, right? Or like that's a new category of possibility.
Yeah, I mean it would be very vibe-based. But
Yeah, it'd be very vibe-based.
But I don't know, it adds a lot of like dynamism to the program potentially. It's like you have like runtime functions being
That's a very clever idea. So let me share the idea with the whole group so that you guys can understand why this is actually a pretty interesting idea. So the idea is there a way you could actually use the by keyword almost as a pre-compilation step to implement your application itself? So basically it's not for saturating objects with LLM information. It's for compile time implementation of the whole application. So you have like, give me my actual code using the by keyword that will actually be the thing that I run. It's very interesting. It's a new kind of compiler. It's like a vibe compiler. Yeah. That could be a paper. Seriously. I call it a vibe compiler.
It's not joking.
No, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, just to the question earlier, like if you go to, I mean, on whatever you're running, your own instance of that, go to admin, and then you have access to all these dashboards. So if you go to monitoring, this is monitoring application. This is the monitoring.
So this is actually how much money you spent so far on dev for my demos? So that's actually how much. Is that true? Maybe this has been up for a while. That would be very expensive. We might get a big bill after this. Yeah, that's great. That's pretty cool.
But anyway, so when you run your own instance of that, you have access to this.
So there's a lot here. And so there's JacGPT, there's us. Actually, we know more than the docs knows and the JacGPT knows, of course. Always try to get every piece of information in there. But pretty much all of this, you should be able to touch and feel the Jac Builder. All of those dashboards, you can actually go through and experience. All right, more Q&A. Yeah. Oh, one.
One question. I think it's really cool what you've done with JacHacks, and especially the builder tool. So I have one question about the builder tool. Are you able to share and collaborate sort of like Google Docs or Google Slides where you share with your friends and everyone like edits the same document live?
That's a great idea. I like the idea. So we don't have that yet.
Okay.
But that's actually, that should be a matter of engineering. You could share the link, of course, like we did. You can share the link so people can see what you're doing, but we don't have multi-user collaboration. That's a good feature, though.
Yeah, I think we really awesome because right now we're just using GitHub to collaborate, so we can merge conflicts. Because the AI is editing the entire program at once, so sometimes it'll edit all the files, and then we also have AI editing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when you're working at the same time, too. PRs are going left and right. And actually, you really kind of open up an interesting question, right? Because in the realm of like lovables and vibe coding and these, what does collaboration look like beyond Git? But that's an open opportunity. So another good idea for hackathon or startup. All right, guys, thank you guys so much. We're gonna be around. There's more questions. Share amongst yourselves. I want you guys to be in unity. And so share with each other, answer each other's questions, ask each other questions. Discord. We'll be around. Have fun. Come your brains out, and I'll see you guys soon.
Oh, sure. You are already?
No, we made it.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. I want JacHacks.
Oh, JacHacks.
Okay. Link that in the Discord.
And then also the main website for the job
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's in the
It's in the monorepo collection. Just like monorepo holds all the plugins on all the docs.
So I'm also going to make one for that just for when it's
Yeah,
this is mono. Yes. Oh yeah.